The iQOO 9 Pro is finally here in India, a phone that has genuinely caught my attention in 2022. It is an out-and-out flagship with top-of-the-line specs and a price to match. My name is Ershad, you're watching Trakin Tech English. Let's review the iQOO 9 Pro. So starting off with the design, the iQOO 9 Pro has an industrial design language that was initiated by Vivo when it launched the X50 series. This metal plate camera module on the rear continues to look extremely classy, and the Legend Edition, which was first introduced in the iQOO 7 Legend with BMW signature colors, looks extremely unique. Now this phone weighs 210 grams and has a big 6.78-inch display, and it's got this glass sandwich design where the glass actually blends into the thin metal frame, and the metal frame is so thin that actually holding it and using it with one hand becomes really difficult. This is definitely a two-handed phone. Now I do like the placement of the power button and the volume rocker. It's at the optimum position according to me, and you also get a Type-C port at the bottom along with a speaker grill which works in tandem with the earpiece to work in dual speaker setup. Now while the 3.5mm headphone jack is missing as usual, I do like the fact that iQOO has attention to detail here, and the ports at the bottom are symmetrical. Now if you're considering the iQOO 9 Pro, let it be known that it doesn't come with IP rating. Now coming to the stereo speaker setup, since this phone is very wide, the spatial separation is also very good. Now what I do also like about the iQOO 9 Pro is the fact that it comes with a dedicated DAC. As an audiophile, that makes me really happy because high-res music sounds really good on the iQOO 9 Pro. Also, as for the glass material on the rear and the front, it is protected by shot sensation glass, and it doesn't have any Gorilla Glass protection for what it is worth. Now, like I mentioned, you get a 6.78 display on the front with a 2K resolution. You also do get LTPO 2.0 technology, which actually can modulate the refresh rate from 1 Hz to 120 Hz, which is very good. And the smart switch refresh rate works really well. Also, iQOO tunes the display really well with great color accuracy, especially in the professional mode. And the brightness can touch a peak of 1500 nits, especially when you're playing HDR content. Talking about HDR content though, it's available on YouTube, but it's not available on Netflix, which is definitely a letdown for a phone that costs this much. Also, the display's touch substrate can do 300 Hz of touch sampling rate and can go up to 1000 Hz when you're playing games. Now you get a single X-axis motor with great haptic feedback on the iQOO 9 Pro. But you know what? You actually get dual X-axis motors on the iQOO 9, which is a cheaper variant. Now what could be construed as one of the most important functional upgrades in a smartphone in a long time is the fact that you get one of the most advanced ultrasonic 3D in-display fingerprint scanners on the iQOO 9 Pro. You get a larger touch surface area, and you can also change the size of that touch surface area, and more importantly, it takes only one touch for you to register the fingerprint. And it goes without saying that the fingerprint scanner works really fast to unlock your phone. And you can also unlock your world of technology by hitting that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever we put out an awesome new tech video. Now coming to the camera setup on the iQOO 9 Pro, you get a 50 megapixel Samsung GN5 sensor, which is the very first phone that I've tested with the GN5 sensor, and you get a 50 megapixel ultra wide with a 150-degree fisheye lens. As for the third camera, it's a 16 megapixel 2.5x portrait camera, and on the front you get a 16 megapixel selfie camera as well. Now while I was testing the cameras on the iQOO 9 Pro, I realized that the camera app has now been really well refined. Now I like the hand-holding features like the grid and of course the leveling features as well, which comes with haptic feedback. Now to test the cameras, I generally like to do a comparison, so I use the iPhone 13 Pro Max to compare against the iQOO 9 Pro, but let it be known that the iQOO 9 Pro is much cheaper, probably half the price of the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So this is just for context and not necessarily a camera comparison to find out if the iQOO 9 Pro does better, but if it does, then that's a good thing. Now what I noticed first is that the iQOO 9 Pro tends to expose one stop higher than I'd ideally like, and therefore killing the dynamics in the shadows. Now the finer textures also look slightly sharper on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. For example, take a look at the 100% crop of the trees in the front of the Free Kick Play Arena. You will see a difference where the 13 Pro Max looks better than the iQOO 9 Pro. Interestingly, in HDR, the iQOO 9 Pro does a good job of controlling the harsh sun and cutting out the bloom. Also, the shadows are darker on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. I've always liked Vivo's algorithms for HDR, and you can see how that translates on the iQOO 9 Pro. Now when it comes to color reproduction, iQOO shoots brighter, more colorful images. In comparison, iPhone looks more natural. And iQOO also struggles with reproducing the right shade of red. The action figure doll here has turned pink, as you can tell. Now, the ultra-wide angle camera with the 150-degree lens is fantastic on the iQOO 9 Pro. I had a lot of fun shooting with it. You can shoot regular ultra-wide shots, which are slightly wider on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Images look sharper in regular ultra-wide mode, plus you get a fisheye mode with different options such as crystal ball, rabbit hole, etc. Also, there is decent color science consistency between the main and the ultra-wide angle camera on the iQOO 9 Pro. Now, the 2.5x portrait camera can also be used as a telephoto camera, and it is alright, but the iPhone can go closer at 3x and it is sharper too if you see closely. I do like the macro shots you can capture using the iQOO 9 Pro. Yes, you can go even closer with the iPhone, but the iQOO 9 Pro looks very good too. It's no slouch. Now, human subject shots, on the other hand, are contrast heavy on the iQOO 9 Pro, but they're definitely sharper compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Having said that, facial tones are more accurate on the iPhone, and against the light, the iPhone overexposes the rear. The iQOO 9 Pro definitely does a better job here. Portraits are sharper on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It punches in 3x as opposed to 2.5x on the iQOO 9 Pro. And the soft details on the iQOO 9 Pro are a bit of a letdown. Also, the edge detection is average. Portraits, I feel, could have been better on the iQOO 9 Pro considering Vivo does it really well on the X70 Pro Plus. Selfies also look better on the iPhone. They are wider, they are sharper, they're more dynamic, and of course offer more accurate facial tones too. Now, my observation for selfie portraits is similar to selfies where everything else remains true and the edge detection is better on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Low light performance, on the other hand, is fantastic on the iQOO 9 Pro. You get sharper details and no light mirroring, as you can see with the iPhone 13 Pro Max with the Vijay Sales logo actually getting mirrored. iQOO offers superb dynamic range performance too, with better control over the light bloom, as you can see on the headlights of the car out here. Don't let anyone tell you that the iPhone 13 Pro Max has a better camera than the iQOO 9 Pro in low light. Even the ultra-wide angle camera performs better in low light on the iQOO 9 Pro compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But I did notice one thing where the color science consistency on both these phones is not great when you're shooting low light pictures. And while the telephoto camera was better on the iPhone in daylight, it is better and sharper on the iQOO 9 Pro in low light, especially with night mode on. Having said that, there's no night mode for selfies on the iQOO 9 Pro, and therefore the iPhone 13 Pro Max beats it. Now, the primary camera on the iQOO 9 Pro can shoot 4K 60 FPS videos, and they look really good, even if it's slightly overexposed like the pictures. Now, the sound recording is also really good, but the iPhone 13 Pro Max does it slightly better. Also, stabilization on both the phones are equally good. It's not like the gimbal stabilization is helping a lot here. Especially because if you look at panning, it is less jerky on the iPhone 13 Pro Max as opposed to the iQOO 9 Pro. Also, the iPhone 13 Pro Max does better when it comes to dynamic range capture in videos. Now, 4K ultra-wide-angle videos look pretty decent on the iQOO 9 Pro, but the iPhone is slightly sharper and offers slightly better dynamic range too. And when it comes to front camera video recording, the iQOO 9 Pro can only do 1080p 30 FPS with no stabilization either. The iPhone just beats it raw. Now I'm shooting using the front camera at 4K 60 FPS on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now I'm shooting using the front camera at 4K 60 FPS on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And when it comes to low light video recording, that's where you see the iPhone 13 Pro Max does way better than the iQOO 9 Pro. All in all though, I do like the camera setups on the iQOO 9 Pro, especially considering the price. It's extremely feature rich and captures pictures that are immediately social media share worthy. And in this price range, this could very well be the most versatile camera setup out there. Now, the iQOO 9 Pro does come with FunTouch OS 12 based on Android 12, and it doesn't have all of Android's feature. For example, that unique Android wallpaper picking theme, which I really like, is not present here. Also, I did face a lot of bugs, but let it be known that this is a production unit. Maybe they will be fixed in software updates. Now, the bugs I faced are Epic browser kept crashing, and once the Play Store also crashed on me. And once while I was actually shooting pictures with the iQOO 9 Pro, the entire system froze and I had to restart it. Also, FunTouch comes with extra pre-installed bloatware apps, and for some odd reason, you cannot delete folders either. Now, also the design of the icons in the notification shade have been changed, and once in a while I got really confused with it. All that said though, it's very similar looking to stock Android, so that's definitely a good thing. And iQOO has provided the latest Android version as well, as opposed to OnePlus, which only provided Android 11. Now, coming to the reason why a lot of you guys must be watching this video, and that is for the performance, because the performance is, I must say, legendary. You get the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 system on chip, and you get two variants, which is 8GB 256GB or 12GB 256GB, and it is LPDDR5 and UFS 3.1 storage. Plus there's 4GB of RAM extension if you're into it, and you also get Wi-Fi 6. Now I did run a few benchmarks. Geekbench score was very similar to what I've achieved on other Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 phones, but on AnTuTu I managed a score of over 1 million points on the iQOO 9 Pro. And for a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 phone, the CPU stability at 68% is pretty good. Even some Snapdragon 888 and 888 Plus phones couldn't achieve such CPU stability. Now in my 3D Mark wildlife stress test, it achieved 76% stability, but it did reach a whopping 53 degrees despite the presence of a liquid cooling chamber. But daily performance on this phone is absolutely fantastic. Throw whatever you want to throw at it and it just crushes through all of them. Now gaming performance was also very good on the iQOO 9 Pro. You do get the best graphics setting on COD Mobile and BGMI, but there is no option to have 90 FPS gameplay on both these games, which is definitely a bit of a letdown. Honestly though, I would say that the iQOO 9 could be a slightly better phone than the iQOO 9 Pro for gaming, primarily because of those dual X-axis motors, and more importantly because of the flat display. Flat displays, in my opinion, are better for gaming than curved displays. But the feature that I had absolutely loved in the iQOO 7, and that has been transported to all the iQOO 9 series phones here, is the game interpolation mode, and it genuinely feels great while playing games which require heavy twitch responses like COD Mobile. Now as for the call quality, it's fantastic, 4G performance is great, and you get support for 14 5G bands as well. Now the iQOO 9 Pro has a 4700 mAh battery inside it, and it supports 120 watt flash charging as well. And if you put the phone to charge and don't touch the screen, then you can easily charge the phone from 0 to 100 in under 22 minutes. iQOO claims 20 minutes to charge from 0 to 100, but in my testing I had Wi-Fi on, and that's why it took 2 minutes extra. I like the fact that iQOO is quoting numbers that are actually genuinely true in its marketing material, and it is replicating in real life performance testing as well. Having said that, the 8 Gen 1 is a battery guzzler. I could get only 4 hours of screen on time with the 2K resolution and 120Hz always on. But when I dropped to FHD Plus with 120Hz refresh rate, I could get a screen on time of about 4.5 to 5 hours, which is pretty decent. I think this has something to do with the fact that the software is not very well tuned yet, and maybe when the retail units come out, it could be better. For its price, the iQOO 9 Pro straight up offers the best performance on a phone that you can find right now. Also, like I said, possibly one of the most versatile cameras out there, and great picture taking capabilities too. In fact, I really liked capturing pictures using the iQOO 9 Pro because whenever I took a shot, it gave me a shot that I actually liked and felt like I could share it on social media. Furthermore, the display is also of really good quality. But what do need improvements are of course the software experience and the battery life too. And like I mentioned, maybe the brand will do it by the time the retail units go out to users. If we have iQOO 7 and iQOO 7 Legend users in the audience, do let me know what your experience has been with software updates, because it could be useful for other people trying to buy an iQOO phone. Also, you don't have to worry about service centers because iQOO is now legit a sub-brand of Vivo, and it uses the service center network of the 600 service centers that are available across India. Now, the alternatives for the iQOO 9 Pro are currently the Asus ROG Phone 5S, but again, it won't have the best performance like you get on the iQOO 9 Pro, but upcoming phones are definitely looking good. For example, you have the Moto Edge 30 Pro, which is expected to launch really soon, and of course, the OnePlus 10 Pro. So yeah, what do you guys think of our review of the iQOO 9 Pro? I hope you guys liked it. Let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, keep tracking and stay safe.